දවස් 30ක්ම unlimited Netflix බලන්න. unlimited data pack එකක් මුළු පවුලටම unlimited fun එකක් අරගන්න. අදම active කරගන්න.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, second of the year, Sri Lanka Air Force training aircraft crashes, killing pilot. Long overdue. Cabinet approves amendments to the relevant ordinance to prevent the caveat ban on lands being used for extortion. The pandemic, still no community transmission in Sri Lanka.
The clusters appeared in the early October are almost now weaning. The cases that are coming are connected to one or the other known COVID-19 cases.
In flames. Fire breaks out at the Halsdorf Court Complex. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Tuesday, the 15th of December, 2020.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
Try out our new product range. Celebrate and feel the difference with Bairaha.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamke Kanaka. Let's start with your local stories. Now, a Sri Lankan Air Force aircraft crashed today, killing the pilot. The aircraft had taken off on a training exercise before the control tower lost communication with it around 10 minutes later. It is also the second aircraft of the Air Force to crash this year.
The Sri Lanka Air Force training aircraft PT-6 had set off from the China Bay Air Force Base in Trincomalee on a training session at around 1 p.m. today. About 10 minutes after the takeoff, the aircraft had disappeared from the radar. Air Force spokesperson Group Captain Dushan Vijay Singh has said that communication had been lost between the aircraft and the control tower. It was later discovered that the aircraft had crashed near a canal adjacent to the Lake Janaranjana in Kantale. Later, an Air Force helicopter reached the scene of the crash. The pilot of the crashed aircraft was found stuck inside the cockpit, while the Air Force and the police took him out of the aircraft with the aid of the locals. The pilot, however, had succumbed to his injuries. The incident marks the second occasion this year where an aircraft of the Sri Lanka Air Force crashed. On the 3rd of January, a Y-12 aircraft of the Air Force crashed in the region of Haputale, killing the 2 pilots and 2 Air Force personnel. Meanwhile, the firefighting vehicle of the Air Force Firefighting Unit also met with an accident at the location of the aircraft crash site today.
Safeguard hand sanitizer. නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නීරෝගිමත් දිවියකට. ලංකාවේ පළමු වරට හඳුන්වා දෙන Melbourne Veggie Cracker.
Crunchy Veggie.
Now, Deputy Director General of Public Health Services, Dr. Hemantha Herath, offered words of reassurance today, saying that there still isn't any evidence to say that Sri Lanka is in the community transmission stage in the prevailing COVID-19 pandemic. He added that the health authorities will be able to bring the situation under control with the help of the public, and as such urged the people to adapt to the new normal and adhere to health and safety protocols during the festive season. In the meantime, the areas of Panadura, Totavatta and area of Alupota in Badalkumura Monaragala will be placed under lockdown until further notice.
Sri Lanka's COVID-19 death toll rose by 2 to 154 yesterday. The victims were identified as a 65-year-old man and a 73-year-old woman. According to the Department of Government Information, the cause of death of the woman was a heart attack that was brought on by high blood pressure and the COVID-19 infection. COVID-19 pneumonia, meanwhile, was identified as the cause of death of the second victim. In the meantime, the country's overall number of active COVID-19 cases rose to 8,457 after 688 infections were confirmed from the island yesterday. To no surprise, the Colombo district accounted for 200 of those cases, while the Kalutara district reported the second highest infections with 117. The Gampaha district reported the third highest number of cases yesterday with 113. 16 other districts meanwhile recorded 255 of the infections, while the remaining 3 patients were identified as Sri Lankan returnees.
Very clearly, we have seen that the clusters appeared in the early October or late October are almost now weaning, and no more cases reported from the areas like Minuwangoda, Katunayaka area, and especially the Colombo Municipal Council area also. The numbers that are reported at the moment are getting reduced, but we know that different places, new clusters in small numbers appearing because of the movement of people, which is inevitable under the present circumstances. And we are, especially the provincial health authorities, are taking necessary steps to control such small subclusters that are appearing. And most of the places, the cases that are coming are connected to one or the other known COVID-19 cases, and therefore at the moment still we are considering the current situation as a cluster of cases and not as a social transmission or community transmission.
The Deputy Director General of Public Health Services meanwhile also urged the public to render their support to health authorities to control the spread of COVID-19 by adopting the new normal.
We urge the public as the Ministry of Health to adhere to the health guidelines already given to the public, basically to keep the distance and also avoiding the crowded places unless for essential purposes, and also to make sure that you all are wearing the face mask at all times when you are coming out, and also to adhere to the respiratory etiquettes that we have already given to you all, and also wash your hands as frequently as possible, especially when you are working at your work setup, and also while going into shopping or any other type of outdoor activities where you are supposed to meet more and more people, and also to limit the traveling and movement of people as much as possible, especially during this season and New Year, because this is something that we used to do, but unfortunately the current circumstances do not permit us to engage the normal way that we behaved last year. And we would urge you all to adopt the new normal and ensure that we are contributing the endeavor of the health ministry to control this epidemic at this moment. Even though the report says that there will be more and more serious situations in the world in the coming days, we should be able to control whatever the eventuality that we might expect favorable to us, especially if the public is going to give the fullest cooperation to control this disease.
In another development, 5 employees of a rubber timber factory in the area of Borulagama in Ingiriya had tested positive for the virus after random PCR tests were conducted on 6 of the factory's employees. Following this development, PCR tests were conducted on all the employees at the factory. 47 of them tested COVID-19 positive today, and out of which 37 are Indian nationals. In the meantime, with plans underway to convert the Unity Plaza in Colombo similar to that of Singapore's Sim Lim Square, the plaza was closed today after 4 COVID-19 cases were confirmed from the area. Meanwhile, police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana stressed on the fact that partaking in PCR tests and antigen tests are not a choice, but rather mandatory rule whereby legal action will be taken against those who do not follow through with the test.
නිරෝධායනයට අදාළ උදෙකලා නියෝගය තවදුරටත් පොලිස් බල ප්‍රදේශ 9ක් සහ ග්‍රාම සේවක වසම් 24ක් ආශ්‍රිතව ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම කොළඹ නගරේ පොලිස් බල ප්‍රදේශ 9ක් ආශ්‍රිතවයි උදෙකලා කිරීමේ නියෝගය ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම ඊයේ දිනේ සිට තවත් ග්‍රාම සේවක වසම් කිහිපයක් මේ සඳහා එක් වුණා. කෙසේ වෙතත් උදෙකලා කිරීම අලුතින් කරන ලද ප්‍රදේශවල ජනතාවට මතක් කරන්නට කැමැති. ඔබ නිරන්තරයෙන්ම සංචාරණ සීමාවන් ඔබ විසින්ම පනවාගෙන උදෙකලාව නිවසට වී රැඳී සිටියොත් ඉතා ඉක්මනින් ඔබේ ප්‍රදේශයේ හුදකලා බව ඉවත් කරන්නට හැකියාවක් ලැබෙනවා. අනිවාර්යෙන්ම නිරෝධායන රීතීන් වලට අනුගතව කටයුතු කරන්න. සෞඛ්‍ය බලධාරීන් PCR පරීක්ෂණ, ඇන්ටිජන් පරීක්ෂණ හෝ වෙන යම් පරීක්ෂණයක් සඳහා ඔබට සහභාගී වන ලෙස දන්වන්න නම් ඒ සඳහා අනිවාර්යෙන්ම සහභාගී වීමට ක්‍රියා කරන්න. ඒවා මගහැරියොත් එවැනි අයට එරෙහිව නීතිය මගින් ක්‍රියා කිරීමට සිදු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඒ අයගේ දේපොළ මුද්‍රා කිරීමටත් සිදු වෙනවා.
In other matters, despite the directives given by health authorities for bus operators to limit the passenger capacity to the number of seats, it seems to have been disregarded across the board. Since bus operators highlighted revenue loss owing to the directive, the government even hiked bus fares by 1.2% in November, giving in to their demands. Looking at the situation on the ground, the only thing which seems to have happened is the bus fare hike, with bus operators blatantly disregarding the health authorities' directive.
Now, the Cabinet yesterday has granted approval to make amendments to the Registration of Documents Ordinance to end possible land fraud in the country using the caveat ban. Among the other Cabinet decisions are the nomination of Kithul as a major plantation crop and the removal of the alphabets denoting provinces used in the number plates of vehicles.
The decisions made during the meeting of Cabinet of Ministers last evening were announced to the media this morning.
අපි දන්නවා වාහන වල අංකයේ පළාත හඳුනා ගැනීමට ඉංග්‍රීසි අකුරු දෙක කේතයක් තියෙනවා. මේ නිසා යම් කෙනෙක් එක් පළාතකින් තවත් පළාතකට මාරු වුණාම තමන්ගේ අංකතාඩු යලි ලබා ගැනීම අවශ්‍යතාවයක් මතුවලා තියෙනවා. අංකතාඩුව මාරු නොකර ඔහුට ඒ පළාතෙන් ඊට පස්සේ තමන්ගේ දුම් බලපත්‍රය ලබා ගැනීම හෝ වාර්ෂික ආදායම් බලපත්‍රය ලබා ගැනීම හෝ සිදු කිරීමේ හැකියාවක් නැහැ. එක පැත්තකින් මේක මහ ජනතාවට වැයබරක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා. පරණ අංකතාඩු විනාශ කිරීම පැත්තෙන් ආණ්ඩුවට වැයබරක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඇලුමිනියම් අඩංගුවේ පරණ අංකතාඩු විනාශ කිරීමේදී පරිසර දූෂණයක් සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඔයාලට මේ අංකතාඩු මුද්‍රණය කිරීමේ ටෙන්ඩර් පිටරටවලට ගිය ලැබුණා මේක විදේශ විනිමය වැයවීමක් තියෙනවා. මේ සියල්ලම සලකලා බලලා ප්‍රවාහනමත්තුමා කරපු යෝජනාවක් අනුව අංකතාඩු වලින් පළාත දැක්වෙන කේතය ඉංග්‍රීසි අකුරු දෙකේ කේතය ඉවත් කරලා ශ්‍රී ලංකාවටම පොදු වාහන අංකතාඩු නිකුත් කිරීමට ඊයේ අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩලය තීන්දුව කරා.
කොයි 19 වෛරස් එකට එරෙහිව ප්‍රතිශක්තිකරණ එන්නතක් පිළිබඳව ඔබතුමාලා යම් කිසි එකඟතාවයකට පත් වෙලා තියෙන කිසියම් රටකින් ලබා ගැනීමට එන්නත ලබාගෙන කුමන වකවානුවක මේ එන්නත සාමාන්‍ය ජනතාවට ලබා දීමට කටයුතු කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවද? කුමන කාණ්ඩ යටතේ ලබා දීමට ඔබතුමාලා බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවද?
වෛද්‍ය අංශවලින් මේ සම්බන්ධව විමසීම් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වෙනුවෙන් කමිටි එකකුත් පත් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒකේ අපි ලොජිස්ටිකල් පැත්ත බලලා අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු කරන්නයි කියලා. ඒක ලයින් එකකුත් දීලා තියෙනවා. ඒකේ පාවිච්චි කළ යුත්තේ කාටද කියන එකත් ඒ සියලු දේවල් අවසාන වශයෙන් තීන්දුවක් ගන්න ඒ කමිටු එකට බාර දීලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අද තාමත් ඉක්මනින් ඒ සම්බන්ධව අපිට වාර්තාවක් ලැබෙයි. ඒ වාර්තාව අනුව ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමට තමයි අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. ඒකට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්නවා සෞඛ්‍ය ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ තාමත්ම නිපුණත්වයක් දක්වන කණ්ඩායම් සියල්ලම.
Among the other decisions announced was the establishment of a Consular General's Office of Sri Lanka in Antananarivo in Madagascar. The Cabinet also granted approval for the proposal to accept the BIMSTEC Convention as a member state at its 5th summit scheduled to be held in Sri Lanka next year. Also among the decisions are to nominate Kithul as a major plantation crop and to establish a Kithul Development Board. Kithul-related production industry is endemic to Sri Lanka and it is recognized as a highly potential industry for earning foreign exchange. The government observes that it is appropriate to expand the Kithul industry as it serves the purpose of creating a people-centered economy by uplifting local production, which is very much in line with the government's policy. The Cabinet also gave the nod to introduce a new act to further expand the academic activities of the Kotalavala Defence University and enhance its role as a national defence university. The amendment to the Universities Act No. 16 of 1978 to include the provisions required for the establishment of special purpose universities in the country is also among the decisions approved. The amendment to the University Act will be made in order to convert nursing colleges and teacher training colleges into universities, considering them being highly demanded professions in today's global job market. Several proposals put forth by the Minister of Justice has been given the Cabinet approval. The proposals are the revision of fines in the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman or Degrading Treatment or Punishment Act No. 22 of 1994 in order to suit the present scenario. As proposed by the Minister of Justice, amendments to the Registration of Documents Ordinance to prevent individuals using the caveat ban on lands as a means of extortion was also given the go-ahead. Also put forth by the Minister of Justice, amending the Poisons, Opium and Dangerous Drugs Ordinance was given the green light by the Cabinet of Ministers yesterday due to the provisions included in the ordinance not being adequate for present requirements. The Cabinet approved the appointing of a committee comprising of religious leaders, legal experts, members of security forces, conductors of rehabilitation programs for drug addicts in order to obtain recommendations to amend the ordinance. The Cabinet also gave the go-ahead for the construction of the International Gem and Jewellery Trade Centre in the area of Demuavatta in Ratnapura to enable sellers and buyers to avail all the services and facilities under one roof. As the first phase of the project, a 5-story building at a cost of 365 million rupees is set to be constructed.
Now, proceedings from the Presidential Commission of Inquiry on Easter attacks coming up next. Stay with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the Attorney General's Department has submitted documents to the Public Service Commission pertaining to its State Counsel Malik Aziz and Deputy Solicitor General Azad Nawawi for disciplinary action. However, the AG's department is yet to hear from the Public Service Commission. This was revealed before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating the Easter Sunday terror attacks. It also heard that Nawawi had been handling terrorism-related files in the Eastern Province back in 2017. Head of Administration at the Attorney General's Department, Additional Solicitor General Sumati Dharmawardana, gave evidence before the Presidential Commission probing the Easter Sunday terror attacks via video link today. The chairman of the commission asked him whether he completely perused the final report of the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to investigate the attacks. The Additional Solicitor General replied, quote, "No, I did not, but I did so the section pertaining to my testimony before the Select Committee. On the 24th of February 2020, or before that, I informed the Attorney General to conduct a preliminary investigation on the information contained in the Select Committee's report on the Attorney General's Department State Counsels Malik Aziz and Deputy Solicitor General Azad Nawawi. The Attorney General then appointed a 3-member committee chaired by Senior Additional Solicitor General Sarat Jayaman. Later, however, Senior Additional Solicitor General Priyantha Nawana was appointed as the chair of the committee, with the recusal of Jayamana over a personal reason. The report of that committee was submitted to the Attorney General on the 20th of July 2020 with 2 volumes." Unquote. The chairman of the commission then asked the witness as to what recommendations had been made in that report. The witness replied, quote, "It's said to take disciplinary action against the 2 officials in line with Section 13, subsection 2 of the Establishment Code. 2 model charge sheets pertaining to the duo were also submitted. After studying it, Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira submitted the preliminary investigation report to Acting Solicitor General Sanjay Rajaratnam for a further study. Later, he too recommended that disciplinary action should be taken without delay. Afterwards, on the 12th of November 2020, the Attorney General forwarded the file to me for further action. On 27th of November 2020, I submitted the recommendations of the Initial Investigation Committee and the draft proposals to the Public Service Commission via the Secretary of Justice for disciplinary action to be taken. But there hasn't been a reply from the Public Service Commission since." Unquote. The chairman of the commission then asked whether Azad Nawawi had worked in a position by April of 2017. To that, the witness replied, quote, "By that time, Azad Nawawi had worked as a senior state counsel. What's more, he had also acted as the junior supervising officer on terror investigation files pertaining to 2 sections in the Eastern Province, the EER and TR." Unquote. The chairman of the commission then asked as to who his senior supervising officer had been during that time. The Additional Solicitor General's response was, quote, "It was present Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira who had been the senior supervising officer in charge of the crime division during when he was a senior Additional Solicitor General." Unquote. The chairman of the commission asked whether the witness had the circulars issued during that time. The witness said yes and went on to say, quote, "It is said in one circular that the head of the crime division must inform the Attorney General of important and controversial matters." Unquote. The chairman of the commission then questioned, quote, "OK, so has the relevant official or the supervising officer brought the file EER 08/2017 to the attention of the Attorney General prior to the Easter attacks on the 21st of April 2019? Unquote. The witness replied, quote, "As indicated by the notes, the official in charge of the file has not informed the supervising officer. The junior supervising officer hasn't informed the senior supervising officer, who is the head of the crime division, either. Accordingly, the Attorney General too has not been informed." Unquote. The chairman of the commission then asked the witness, quote, "Has there been any file reviews by the junior and senior officials during that time to discuss incomplete files?" Unquote. The witness's answer to that was that there were file reviews in 2017 and 2018. Then the legal counsel representing Deputy Solicitor General Azad Nawawi, President's counsel Shavendra Fernando, made a special request before the commission. He said, quote, "The Attorney General had sent a letter to the acting IGP on the 18th of June in 2019, It said that the Terrorist Investigation Division had not forwarded sufficient information which it had to the Attorney General for advice, and as such, not a single official at the AG's department can take responsibility over this. According to that, if no official in the AG's department can claim responsibility over this, then there cannot be a fault with my client either. The AG's coordinating officer had issued a media communique pertaining to this letter. As such, I need to summon her before the Commission to clarify these facts, unquote. After considering the request, the Commission ordered the Attorney General's coordinating officer, State Counsel Nisha Rajaratne, to record a statement with the Commission's police unit tomorrow and to appear before the Commission on the 17th of this month to testify. Now, the Attorney General today informed the Court of Appeal that arrangements can be made for lawyers representing Hijaz Hizbullah, who is currently in custody pertaining to the Easter Sunday terror attacks, to meet their client. Now, as such, Hizbullah will be meeting with his legal counsels at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow. The petition filed seeking a court order on the director of CID to grant permission for Hizbullah to access his lawyers was taken up before Court of Appeal Justices Priyantha Fernando and Sobhita Rajakaruna this morning. Following the announcement of Attorney General's decision, the legal matter was concluded by the Court of Appeal's bench. The petition alleged that the Criminal Investigation Department had not granted access for Hizbullah's lawyers to meet him since September. However, when the petition was heard yesterday, the Attorney General denied the accusations. A fire broke out in the waste materials storage area on the ground floor of the Supreme Court complex in Halsdorf, Colombo at around 4:30 p.m. today. Now, the police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohan said that the fire had only destroyed defective material previously used in air conditioners. He added that no damages have occurred to record rooms or any other property at the Supreme Court complex. 9 fire trucks were deployed to douse the flames. The Supreme Court complex was seen almost entirely engulfed in thick smoke as firefighters and police officers rushed to extinguish the flames. Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira was also seen arriving at the scene. The cause of the fire, however, is yet to be ascertained. 3 CID teams have been deployed to investigate the fire. Former All Ceylon Makkal Congress MP Abdullah Mohammed Maharoov has been arrested by the CID last night in Kinnia. The former Deputy Minister had been apprehended over misuse of vehicles belonging to Lanka Satosa during the period from 2015 to 2019. Police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohan said that a person named Farooq Mohammed Aslam, a resident of Matale, had also been arrested along with the former MP. The CID had launched investigations into the matter based on a complaint made by the Lanka Satosa. We will see you soon. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the Department of Census and Statistics today released the estimated GDP and other macroeconomic indicators for the third quarter. Though Sri Lanka's gross domestic product contracted 16.3% in the second quarter of 2020, the third quarter has shown a 1.5% positive growth, reflecting the recovery of the economy after the contraction in first and second quarters of this year. Accordingly, agriculture and manufacturing activities, service activities, IT and telecommunications industry, financial and insurance services, real estate activities, as well as private health services have reported positive growth rates compared to the third quarter in 2019. The agriculture sector had grown 4.3% during the third quarter, while the manufacturing industry has showed a 5.3% growth. Now, taking a look at the Colombo bourse, stocks closed at 0.37% lower today after ending in green for 15 days straight. The all-share price index fell 24.75 points to close at 6,560.64, while the S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks down by 26.97 points to 2,607.87. Today's turnover was 2.5 billion rupees, with 56 stocks making gains and 131 making losses. Now, here's a brief report on today's market performance.
The largest winning streak experienced in the past 15 trading session was disrupted and reverting the direction back to the market into the negative. And market witnessed a downtrend in the early session and market witnessed an intraday low of 6,626 and later on market bounced back. It's a short-lived and market closed around 6,632 losing 25 points. In the first half of the session, we saw less retail activities. We are seeing rupees depreciate against dollar and we are seeing a much pressure on the rupee, and we might wait and see how that affect to the stock market in the near future.
Now the rupee meanwhile closed stronger at 186 rupees and 80 to 40 cents to the US dollar today after closing at 187 rupees and 20 to 70 cents to the dollar yesterday. Now here's a brief report on how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.